Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Good morning and happy Independence Day. I'm Jeannie Maudlin, and on behalf of Historic New Harmony, the Kiwanis Club, and the Friends of the Working Men's Institute, welcome to our traditional July 4th celebration. We have masked, we've socially distanced, we're vaccinated, and we're back. We are the victors against the virus. It's absolutely an understatement to say that it's wonderful to be back here together again in this beautiful space, celebrating our nation's independence together. And we must thank Historic New Harmony for opening the magnificent Anthony to us today so that we can do just that. Additionally, we deeply appreciate the members of the New Harmony Kiwanis Club for once again organizing and planning for New Harmony's oh so popular and unique golf cart parade and community picnic, both of which will take place immediately following today's program. We also want to give a shout out to the New Harmony Ministerial Association for organizing the community worship service that took place earlier this morning. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you can imagine, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there were many moving parts, many things that we had to plan for, arrange around for this event, any of these festivities today to actually take place. And the fact that we are sitting here together doing this right now is absolutely a tribute. It's a testament to volunteerism, to perseverance, and extreme flexibility. But as I think about that, that's what Americans do, right? That's what America is all about. That's what we do for our friends and for each other. It's like our Constitution says, to form a more perfect union. We get it. We're not perfect. But we are always striving to be more so, to form a more perfect union. I'm also reminded of a few lines from a poem written in 1938 by American poet Langston Hughes, one of the moving parts. The poem goes like this. Let America be America again, the land that has never been yet, but yet must be. So, today, as citizens of the United States, we celebrate America's 245th birthday, if you will. As citizens of New Harmony, over the course of this year, we have been celebrating Robert Owen's 250th birthday. So, I don't know, New Harmony, it seems to me like we have many things to celebrate and many reasons to do so. So let's get to it. It's my pleasure to introduce to you New Harmony's beloved community choir under the direction of Mrs. Tina Sheedy.
Thank you all. We prepared 3 pieces of music, and you have a role in all 3 of them. The first one is the Armed Forces Pride of America. I think this is one of our favorite. Anyway, in this one, we're going to sing the anthem of each of the branches of the Armed Forces, and when we get to your branch, and it will be announced at the beginning, please stand so that we may recognize and thank you for your service. At the conclusion of that song is the national anthem. You all know it's coming, so please stand and join us in singing that. Then, if you turn over to the pack, there are 2 songs. And both of these are original compositions composed for this celebration and this choir. So we're really lucky to have 2 pieces of amazing original music. So without further ado, I hope that you'll join in singing with us, and be sure and stand when we get to your branch of service.
to introduce some special people today. We are fortunate enough to have with us a group of international students from the University of Southern Indiana who have expressed a particular interest in our Constitution and in our Declaration of Independence. Additionally, they also wanted to witness and participate in firsthand a traditional July 4th celebration. I think they picked the right one. Would you please stand so that we can welcome you to the audience? So this is going to be the part where also perseverance and extreme flexibility shine in real time. So here we go. On July 4th, 1776, Congress approved the Declaration of Independence and then further ordered that copies of the Declaration be sent to several assemblies, conventions, and committees or councils of safety, and to the several commanding officers of the Continental troops, that it be proclaimed at the head of the Army and in each of the United States. Let us listen. As direct descendant of Robert Owen, Ms. Docey Lewis and her friends recite to us our Declaration of Independence.
I was flattered when Jean Maudlin of the Friends of the Working Men's Institute asked if I would be willing to read the Declaration of Independence on July 4th of this 250th birthday of my great-great-great-grandfather, Robert Owen. I began to practice reading the document with a certain amount of dramatic flair, thanks to the many fine versions available on YouTube. Then, last Saturday night, while out on my nightly walk on our beautiful river trails, I found dusk and the mosquitoes conspiring to force me to make a hasty retreat home. I picked up my pace into a full-on run, and about 200 yards from my back door, tripped on a crack in the cement trail and went flying. An emergency room trip, a great orthopedic surgeon, and a week of help from friends in the community, and by this coming Friday, I will have a brand new shoulder. I wasn't sure I would even be able to make it up the podium today, and then I had the idea of asking for a little help from my friends, because this is the sort of community where word gets around pretty fast. What happened to you? The phone is ringing off the hook and people are asking how they can help. And I just wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. So everybody I asked to help, I either saw on last Saturday before I fell, or heard from after I fell. I saw many of you at the farmer's market, including Pat Wilson, who healed from a miraculous accident where she recovered so beautifully. And I told her on Saturday, could I have your body, please? Before I fell. Anyway, while Jefferson is credited as the master wordsmith, having written the first draft of the Declaration of Independence, he had help as well. His committee consisted of John Adams, Ben Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. The final edit was done by the whole Congress. They accomplished a lot in a short period of time. There were naysayers among them. But finally, compromise was reached and 56 delegates voted to ratify it. And as they say, the rest is history. As I contemplated my broken bones and the uphill future weeks of healing, the metaphor was not lost on me. The COVID pandemic and its uncertain aftermath, climate change and our fragile environment, various inequities among us, division in our towns, states, and the countries of the world force us to imagine how to mend, how to reweave our social fabric. We have a long-standing tradition, at least in the 18 years I have lived here in New Harmony, of putting aside our differences. We celebrate the history of our town and the great role it played in forming a better union on this 4th of July. We celebrate the brave soldiers, past and present, who protect and defend our cherished freedom in all these United States. But, as Frances Wright points out in her July 4, 1828 speech on the 52nd anniversary of American independence, we also have an obligation to examine our progress. And I quote Frances Wright, "The custom which commemorates and rejoicing the anniversary of the national independence of these states has its origin in a human feeling, amiable in its nature and beneficial under proper direction in its indulgence. Reasonable it is to rejoice on this day and useful to reflect thereon, so that we rejoice for the real and not for any imaginary good. We reflect on the positive advantages obtained and on those which it is ours farther to acquire. Dating as we justly may a new era in the history of man from the 4th of July, 1776, it would be well, that is, it would be useful if on each anniversary we examined the progress made by our species in just knowledge and just practice. Each 4th of July would then stand as a tide mark in the flood of time, by which to note the rise and fall of each successive error, the discovery of each important truth, the gradual amelioration in our public institutions, social arrangements, and above all, in our moral feelings and mental views. Let such a review as this engage annually our attention, and sacred, doubly sacred, shall be this day, and that not to one nation only, but to all nations capable of reflection." So let us reflect on these words, the Declaration of Independence, spoken by a cross-section of my very willing friends and family. Thank you.
The Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter and or to abolish it, and to institute new government.
Laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes.
And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such a
has been the patient sufferance. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government.
The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states.
To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has received his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good.
He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He's called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of critiquing them into compliance with his measures.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with many firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands.
He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers.
He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance.
He has kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislators.
He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation.
For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us.
For protecting them by a mock trial which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world.
For imposing taxes on us without our consent.
For depriving us in many state cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses.
For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable law, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments.
for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has advocated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is, at this time, transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun in circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms.
Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us.
We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here.
We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity.
And we have honored them by the powers of compromises without interpretations which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consequence. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We therefore, representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled,
appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare
That these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states.
That they are absolved from allegiance to the British Crown.
And that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved.
All right.
And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce.
And to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence,
we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
How about that new harmony? That was pretty fabulous. So this year, the Board of the Friends of the Working Men's Institute, since we're celebrating Robert Owen's 250th birthday, we thought it would be really cool to have his direct descendants participate in today's program. And we've heard from one already, Ms. Lewis, and we're about to hear from another. Ms. Abigail Owen-Pontez is the 4-time great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Robert Owen. And while she lives in Houston, Texas, she loves New Harmony. She was educated at Yale University and sits on several boards, including the Blaffer Foundation here in New Harmony and the Blaffer Art Museum Board in Houston, Texas. And while we thought today Ms. Owen-Pontez was going to be delivering her keynote address to us electronically, oh, happy day, she is here in person. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome to our podium Ms. Abigail Owen-Pontez.
Hear me? Good morning and happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day and happy birthday, America. What a beautiful day to celebrate and honor not only the birthday of this beautiful nation, but also the incredible forefathers and mothers that helped realize the independence we enjoy today.
I'd like to start off by thanking the Friends of the New Harmony Working Men's Institute for their unrivaled devotion to espousing positive change through education, the University of Southern Indiana for helping to preserve and nurture the utopia that is New Harmony, and Historic New Harmony for realizing those changes and making sure they come to fruition. I'd also like to thank the Kiwanis of New Harmony for their devotion to the youth of this town, for creating interactive communal events for not only the burgeoning generations right here in this utopia, but also for those nascent young minds all over the world. Now that I have your independence, attention, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I say brief because I think my great-great-great-great-grandfather and the legacy he left behind is the best introduction one could ever ask for. I am Abigail Owen-Pontez, descendant of Robert Owen, and a family member of New Harmony. I consider this town to be my safe haven, a place of refuge, quietude, love, and recreational tomfoolery. I learned that a golf cart was not a toy, especially when my grandmother was driving. Candy was my beacon and showed me not how to drive, but how to love and appreciate everyone and everything, every shape, color, size. She cherished all walks of life, and I know that she would wish the same for all of us. Moreover, I would like to thank everyone here in the audience for coming together on this momentous day in celebration of a wonderful holiday in a country of the people, by the people, and for the people. I cannot think of a better way to celebrate this Independence Day than to speak before you all in this year, 2021, 250 years after the birth of Robert Owen, and 196 years after this town, born ahead of its time, became a haven for artists, scholars, educators, scientists, revolutionaries, and other like-minded individuals. A place where one could rest assured that harmony is indeed possible and isn't too far off the horizon. That said, the Wabash River doesn't offer too much of a horizon, so harmony must be and is indeed pretty close. Robert Owen left an indelible mark on society, and to this day remains one of the most influential social reformers in history. His accomplishments have stood the test of time. He followed the instinct of his conscience without calculation. In a quote reprinted from the Montgomeryshire Express in Bradford Times in May 28, 1929, Robert Owen lived before his time. He was advanced at his age, and though he did great work, he would have done greater had he lived today. And because he lived, knowledge is now greater, life longer, health surer, harbors of labor shorter, men stronger, women fairer, children happier, and industry held in more honor and is better rewarded. Okay, that being, I believe my great descendant has a few words, paragraphs, pages he'd like to impart on this Sunday. In reference to Robert Owen, I'd like to share with you some takings from his 4th of July speech, which he delivered in the public hall here in New Harmony, 1826. I need to preface this. This speech is fairly long, so I asked a dear friend, historian, and author of several books on Robert Owen and New Harmony, Piet Zeiltensma, to help me to unpack and disseminate this message in a light that truly grasps the importance and pertinence of his achievements that hold true to this day. And I can't begin without saying a note that Piet Zeiltensma left at the very bottom of this speech that he helped me write. He says, and after a lot of long distance calls. Mind you, he's fluent in 4 languages and is more eloquent in English than I will ever be. Dear Abigail, go for it. And help people understand how important Robert Owen's message really was back then and still is today. So let's go for it. We meet to commemorate the period when the inhabitants of this new world attained the power to withdraw from the control of the old world and to form a government for themselves. With these words, Robert Owen began a speech commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. It was pronounced at a moment in history when many people of our nation were looking for new means to fight poverty, social injustice, and discrimination. The Second War of Independence against Great Britain had ended 12 years earlier, and many Americans believed that they were living at the beginning of a new era where the people themselves would shape their own future. The framers of the Constitution had defined this ultimate objective in their preamble: be the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Robert Owen was pursuing these same objectives when he stated in the preliminary Constitution of the community to be formed in New Harmony, the sole object will be to procure for all members the greatest amount of happiness, to secure it to them, and to transmit it to their children to the latest posterity. This preliminary Constitution was printed in the first issue of the New Harmony Gazette, published in October 1825. Under its title, Owen added the following subscription: if we cannot reconcile all opinions, let us endeavor to unite all hearts. In the middle of the 18th century, the Moravian settlements in Pennsylvania and Georgia had been following Robert Owen's guiding principle. George Rapp and the builders of New Harmony were also devoted to the apostle system of shared property. Not surprisingly, when Robert Owen preached community of property in England in 1833, one of his detractors, Reverend James Elisha Smith, declared, "The establishment of Owen's social system is nothing but the Christian millennium." We must therefore ask ourselves, to what extent were Owen's ideas really radical, even in his own time? His defense of shared property was in line with the Christian teaching formulated in the Acts of the Apostles. Owen's criticism of marriage did not concern man's ultimate expression of love, but it condemned the fact that men were misusing a divine institution for the unholy purpose of monopolizing power, knowledge, and while reducing women to a state of slavery, considering them to be part of their private property. As for the role of the church in Owen's Trinity of Evils, in his view, religion served as a boogeyman to prevent the common people from rising up against their dictators, not as a means to promote universal happiness. The elite had turned the church into a weapon of mass manipulation. Religion was no longer the beacon upon the hill, it was now filled with darkness. There are many lessons to be learned from Owen's 4th of July speech, but we now understand why he did not place the cult of his era at the heart of the utopian society, preferring instead to let his followers believe what they wanted. He also did not expect God to turn our planet into an earthly paradise, as many evangelicals and revivalists were preaching. He did not want to wait for God's latter-day intervention and decided to try to make this world a better place himself, at the cost of a great financial sacrifice. Maybe he truly believed he could succeed alone, or maybe he simply hoped others would follow in his footsteps, and that together they would ultimately prevail. In any case, he became an inspiration for many other reformers after him who, like Owen, believed in common ground and common purpose. If we cannot reconcile all opinions, let us endeavor to unite all hearts. Robert Owen wrote his 4th of July speech at a time when injustice and oppression were all around. And today, too, our society needs mending. We are not there yet, but my great-great-great-great-grandfather saw the potential of our nation and of all of you sitting here today. And he set an example for us. In a book entitled The Development of the Principles and Plans on Which to Establish Self-Supporting Home Colonies, published in 1841, he harshly condemned evil of any kind, particularly slavery, servitude, and oppression. So he underscored, this is the first step towards the attainment of the millennium. There can be no human slavery, servitude, or inequality of condition. except the natural equality of age and experience, which will forever preserve order and harmony in society. With that, happy 4th of July.
We're going to put you forth now. On the back of the sheet, the Harmony Reflections. This was proposed by our own Peter Tucker, who is accompanying us on Docey.
We had a lot of great nominations, and the decision was difficult, All people that are nominated are truly seen throughout the community as wearing many hats. But today we can only honor one individual. This individual has been a 20-year member of the New Harmony Association of Interpreters, which is a volunteer organization, and has assisted with the organization's many activities, including the Artisans' Dinner during Heritage Artisans' Day, the Children's Pumpkin Painting at Kunstfest, the Harmonist Bowling for Arts, and many other educational programs. For the past 5 years, this individual has dedicated 1 day a week to cataloging materials at the Working Men's Institute, and that equals a total of 1,820 hours of volunteer service. The Working Men's Institute and works alongside other interested individuals in furthering that organization's objectives. This individual has also served as a member of the town's park tree board and was involved in the planting of trees during the New Harmony Bicentennial year and kept the trees alive by watering them on a regular basis. This individual's done a lot. She has served as volunteer chair of the New Harmony Plan Commission, and during her tenure, spearheaded the wooden slat trash container project. Is a member of St. Stephen's Episcopal Church and can be found many days a week pulling weeds or working in the office. Member of Kiwanis, served for 8 years as secretary and helped each year to make the annual 4th of July celebration a success by assisting at the picnic. Volunteers every year at Kunstfest for Kiwanis and for her church. And so in the spirit of generosity and philanthropy, this person shares their resources in support of many community organizations and initiatives, including the New Harmony Project, the Rivera Gymnasium Restoration Group, the Jane Blaffer Owen Sanctuary, the Rap Owen Granary Foundation, Historic New Harmony, USI Foundation, Under the Beams, and the New Harmony Music Festival, among others. So it is with great pleasure that I present to you Linda Warren.
Our last song is another original composition on the occasion of New Harmony's bicentennial. One of New Harmony's favorite sons, Mickey Grimm, composed a song about what New Harmony meant to him. It's kind of become the New Harmony anthem. It's in the slide presentation for the WMI. As everybody knows, I've had the occasion one time to be having dinner at Sarah's, and there's a piano in there, and I just couldn't walk out without playing the first few bars. And the people in there say, no, wait, we can hear the whole thing. So everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and I hope you'll sing it with us.
It's
Those are you really